The Goruck Challenge Tough is a 10 to 15 hour endurance event designed to test you both physically and mentally. Once the event begins, there are no breaks and there are no resupplies with the exception of water. How far you have to travel and the obstacles you have to overcome are known only to the special operations event organizers called cadre. Every event has a mandatory minimum gear list which can be found on the Goruck website. There is no limit to what you can bring, although the less you have to carry, the better. We will now go through what I bring to a Goruck Tough based on my experience completing over 100 Goruck challenges. Every adventure athlete is different, and this setup may not be right for you, so customize as you see fit. A link to each piece of gear you will see inside can be found in the video description. My ruck is weighing in at 45 pounds. That's including water and food. Additionally, because I weigh more than 150 pounds, there's a 30-pound plate in my ruck. If you weigh less than 150 pounds, then it will just be a 20-pound plate. It's possible to cut this down to 42 or even 40 pounds by removing some of the optional equipment, which we'll get into later. Let's talk about the ruck itself first. This is a GR1 26 liter. It is the recommended size ruck for anyone 6 feet tall and over. If you're between 5 feet and 6 feet tall, this is the GR1 21 liter, formerly known as the GR0. And if you're closer to 5 feet and below, the Echo is the recommended ruck for you. Additionally, we have the Radio Ruck, which falls somewhere in the spectrum between the Echo and the GR1 26 liter. The only difference between the Radio Ruck and these other rucks is that it does not have an internal board installed in the back, but as we'll see later on, that isn't a problem. Let's talk about the exterior of the ruck first. The first thing you'll notice is that I've added 2 shoulder pads to the ruck. These are Shellback Tactical Armor Plate Carrier pads. They Velcro on, just like so. The reason I have these pads is that during your Goruck challenge, you will be required to carry some very uncomfortable objects. Logs, poles, straps, sandbags. I find that the ruck straps aren't wide enough or thick enough to really cushion my shoulders from those loads. So having these extra pads makes life much more bearable during the event. They can feel a little awkward on your shoulder the first time you carry your ruck, having put them on, but it's definitely worth getting used to having them. Next, you'll see the hydration hose here. We'll talk more about hydration when we get inside the ruck, but what I would like you to notice is the carabiner right here. This carabiner is keeping the hose on the front of the ruck so that you always know where it is and you have access to it. And it also allows the hose to move freely. If you don't have a carabiner here, the hose will have a tendency to actually ride behind your shoulder. And the problem is that during the event, you're going to have a log, a pole, a sandbag, your buddy on your shoulders. And once this hose is back here, you're not going to be able to get it to the front of you so you can hydrate. Also, the hose can be over here, the hose can be over here. You don't know where it is. You're searching for it. It's a giant pain. All you need is some way to clip your hose into the front of your ruck to keep it right here so you have access to it. Now there are some other options that you'll see out there. The first is the Grimlock. This attaches to the MOLLE on your shoulder strap. I find that this protrudes too high off of the ruck, so when you hit the ground or your ruck hits the ground, it's just going to snap off. Or if you forget to snap it, it hangs out like a big hook and you get hung up on things. It's not worth the trouble. Next is the Web Dominator. It also attaches to your MOLLE, and then the hose will attach through just like so. But this holds the hose too tightly, and what I found happens is during the course of the event, you'll pull the protective sheathing off of your hose, and then your hose is exposed to damage. You don't want that, so leave this at home. All you need is a simple carabiner and you're good to go. Next, at the bottom of the shoulder straps, you'll see these two S-beaners. Once these nylon webs get wet and it's dark and your hands get tired, it gets very hard to grab these little guys and pull your ruck tight. So simply adding these S-beaners to the end of the straps makes tightening your shoulder straps much easier. It's a little thing, but it makes a big difference. Let's go ahead and look at the back of the ruck here. You'll see the mandatory reflective bands. Also got a carabiner. We'll talk more about how that's useful later on. On the bottom of the ruck, you'll see what I call the Stoney Selection carry handle. Stoney made this famous when he finished selection a few years back. If you happen to have a ruck that has a built-in handle or a customized ruck with a built-in handle, you don't need this. But if you don't, there is a time when you have to carry your ruck over your head, and having a second handle on the bottom of your ruck definitely makes life easier. And this is just some bolts, some very lightweight chain, and some quick links that I got from Home Depot. Attach it in 3 places, and you've got a secondary handle on the bottom of your ruck. Here you'll see a padded waistband. This serves 3 purposes. Purpose number 1 is the padding right here helps your back to save it from ruck burn. Ruck burn occurs when over the course of your night your ruck swings back and forth, and this is where your ruck's going to contact your lower back. It has a tendency to just rub it raw. This extra padding stops that from happening. Secondarily, this belt is used during bear crawls. This keeps the ruck tight around your waist and stops the ruck from hitting you in the back of the head while doing bear crawls. And then finally, if you're ever in a situation where the cadre tells you that you're no longer allowed to use your shoulder straps, what I do is I invert my ruck, and then I will wear this like a belt around my waist. That way, I'm still carrying the ruck on my body, my hands are free, I can carry the team weight, I can carry a wounded buddy. It makes life much easier. And finally, on the top, you'll see that I have my headlamp. Now, headlamp is a mandatory piece of gear. Sometimes your cadre wants you to have them on. Sometimes they don't want you to have them on. You need to have it accessible at the beginning of the event to show that you've got it. This is where I store mine, especially because I don't like wearing my headlamp on top of my head during the event. It hits things, it flies off, I lose it. Here, I've got it, it's easily accessible. So what I've done is I've got my 2 zippers here. I just open them like that, and it flops right out. I've got it wrapped around my top handle, and I've got easy access to it. Additionally, I can reach this during the event by simply reaching my hand over my shoulder, pulling the strap, reaching in, grabbing the headlamp, pulling like so, and now I've got it. Let's get into the ruck. The first thing that we have is a map. A large portion of Goruck is traveling long distances with awkward weights. At most Goruck events, phones and GPS units will not be allowed. Therefore, to traverse long distances, especially in cities, especially in new cities, a map will save your team. They weigh nothing, and if you keep them in a waterproof sleeve, they will survive the night. I have a lanyard on mine so my hands can be free to carry weights while still having quick access to the map. This is the hydration bladder. I recommend a Source 2-liter bladder. I do not recommend Camelback bladders. I've seen too many break, and they are notorious for shooting off their nozzles when the bladder gets compressed. So your bladder is in your ruck, you roll over on your bladder, something hits your bladder, and then the nozzle at this end comes shooting off. You'll never find it. Source bladders are weapons grade and easy to repair. Here you can see I punctured the bladder and I just put a piece of Leukotape and some super glue on it, and it has been flawless for at least 20 events. I recommend the 2-liter bladder size because water is 2.2 pounds per liter and you don't need the extra weight. At each event, one of the team weights will be a water jug. Help out the team and drink that water instead of punishing yourself. Additionally, it's worth noting that all of the components on source bladders are independent, so you can take the nozzle off and you don't lose your water. You can take the hose off and still not lose your water. So you can have a failure anywhere in the system with the exception of the bladder and not lose all of your water. Another reason that source bladders are great. In this waterproof bag, there are 2 daisy chains. These are 1-inch wide climbing slings, which have pre-sewn loops like so. These are all-purpose problem solvers, and the various loops allow you to make slings of different sizes while on the move. And this is where that carabiner we have attached to the outside of the ruck comes in. Now you've got a sling. If that's not big enough, you just move further down the daisy chain, like so. I'll put some pictures of their use here. I've used them to carry water jugs, logs, boxes, ammo crates, slosh pipes. I recommend the 1-inch width because anything less bites into your hands and your shoulders. You can also get smaller climbing runners. And they're useful, but because you can't easily adjust their length and they're very narrow, they can be more trouble than they're worth. These slings are heavy, and you can cut 2 pounds out of your total weight if you decide not to bring them. In this waterproof bag, we have our snivel gear. Snivel gear is clothing used to keep you out of hypothermia. I won't go through the contents of this bag because it really depends on the environment your event will be happening in. If you are doing an event in Phoenix in the summertime, you don't need snivel gear at all. If you're doing the St. Patrick's Day HTL in Boston in February, you will have an emergency jacket, socks, hat, neck warmer, and 4 pairs of gloves. The weight of the bag can vary greatly, and you can save a lot of weight depending on how brave you are. Here we have the mandatory Nalgene bottle. I don't use it for anything. Since we want our lightest gear at the bottom, it lives here in the ruck. The idea is that you can use this when your camelback pops, but get a source bladder and don't worry about it. Next we have our weight. Since I am more than 150 pounds, this is a 30-pound expert form factor plate. If you are less than 150 pounds, this would be a 20-pound plate. I store the plate here in a Shattuck's tactical pouch. At Goruck, you will often be asked to dump everything out of your ruck and repack it. The sleeve, located in the main compartment, allows me to dump everything out and reload everything fast. Secondly, the goal is to get the weight as high as you can because this gets the center of gravity of the ruck closer to your center of balance. This is the most comfortable place to carry weight. Finally, having the plate here creates a shelf on the top of your ruck. This makes carrying teammates and sandbags much more comfortable. I attached the Shattuck tactical pouch using Blackhawk size 7 speed clips. You can also see that I use a button hook to keep the water bladder upright in the ruck. Like so. Additionally, the top of the Shattuck tactical pouch is padded to help save your head when doing bear crawls. If you have the long form factor plate, Shattuck's also makes a pouch for that size as well. This brings us to the computer compartment. Traditionally, this compartment is used for the plate, but I don't want to have to go to another compartment and dump my ruck. And I also have to install a foam insert in the bottom of the compartment to get the export plate to the top of the ruck. Instead, what you will find here is a Kydex sheet. The description below has links to the makers of these. This sheet adds rigidity to the ruck, which is especially needed with the Shattuck tactical pouch installed. Note, you do not replace the pre-installed backing sheet. This is a quick way to destroy your zipper, and scars will not cover it. Leave the original sheet in there and just put the Kydex sheet where the computer would go. At the top of the outer flap, we have the admin pocket. Here I keep all the things I'm required to have, but won't need access to during the event after the check-in, hopefully. This is a Pelican case. They are waterproof. They come in many shapes and sizes, but I try to restrict myself to the Pelican 1015. When storing this in your ruck, I recommend you do it latched down. This will keep it from accidentally opening. So that looks like that. And make sure that nothing gets trapped in the seal. Any gaps in the seal and water will get in. First thing you will see is my phone, which is in a waterproof case of its own. It is trending that Goruck events are not ending where they start, and being able to Uber back to the beginning is a big plus. Next we have my car key. Here we have the mandatory $20 ID, and I use an old driver's license. You can see they cut the corner off mine, so I just hold it like that. And a Band-Aid, which covers the first aid kit requirement. Dude wipes, just in case the turtle starts peeking during your event. Duct tape, zip ties, and a Sharpie. These last three aren't required, but somehow they seem to get a lot of use at events. Finally, we have the diagonal zipper. Here is where I keep my Licky Chewies. I'm a big fan of blocks, but you have to figure out what is easiest on your stomach during workouts. Some people like M&Ms, some people like Snickers, but I find that those get turned into mush. I recommend the black cherry flavor because they have the most caffeine in them. But here is the real hero for me, electrolyte pills. Skip your Noon tablets, skip your mustard packets. This is what stops cramps from ever happening and keeps your muscles in the game. After the first 3 hours of an event, I am taking 2 or 3 of these pills every hour. It really changed my performance level. If you are taking these and you do feel cramps hitting, double your dosage. Now you have a couple options when it comes to electrolyte pills. Here we've got Endurolites Extreme and Sports Legs. I like both of them. They have slightly different formulas. This came right off the shelf from REI, or you can get them from Amazon using the link below. I can't recommend them enough. You should give them a try. And that is the whole ruck. So let's go ahead and put some of this stuff on the scale and see what you can save weight-wise by leaving it out. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at things we can remove to cut down on the weight from my build. We'll start right here. This is a new out-of-the-box GR1 26 liter. It's got nothing on it. It's stripped, so that should weigh in right around 3.4 pounds. 3.38, we'll call that 3.4 pounds. All right, here's my build. We've got the Stony bar, we've got the waist strap, we've got the shoulder pads. We've got the Shattuck Tactical Plate Carrier. We've got the Kydex sheet on the inside. This weighs in at 6.6. So that's 3.2 extra pounds of weight that all that gear gets you. Personally, I say it's worth it, but that's for you to decide. Take that off, zero it out. Here we've got my standard snivel gear. This just happens to be a hat, a jacket, gloves, and a neck warmer. 1.35 pounds. And then finally we've got the straps. I usually carry two with a carabiner, and they're in a waterproof bag. There's strap number 1, here's strap number 2. So if you want to leave those out, you're going to save 1.25 pounds. Other than that, everything else you have to bring. So this is my ruck build. I hope this was helpful. I hope this gave you some good ideas. You're under no obligation to carry all this extra stuff, but I've found over the years that these items do make your event much more manageable. If you like this, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, please hit subscribe. If you want to see something specific, please put it in the comment. I read them all. I really appreciate it. Have a great event.